Welcome students. Today I will be deliberating upon very important phenomenon in the animal life, that is called as migration. As we all know that there are different animals that show the phenomenon called migration. Migration is an instinctive behavior found in case of animals. Right from invertebrates to vertebrates, animals have been known to show the phenomenon called migration. What is migration? Migration can be defined as the class of movement where an animal moves in search of shelter, feed, or to spawn, that is to breed in a particular location which is safe for it. There are different sets of definitions for the purpose of migration. One is based on the seasonal migration, when an animal tries to locate a favorable season for breeding, favorable season for feeding, and also the favorable season for resting. The second class of definition is based on the breeding. The breeding migration is based on the search of the favorable season where the eggs can be laid, where the hatching can be done, and where there is favorable environment for the feeding of the young ones, and also which is predator free. The third set of migration is based on the resting place. A favorable resting place is also required for a healthy lifestyle of an animal, and thus an animal shows the migration based on that. There are definitions which have been precisely given by certain workers like Thomson, Baker, Hardin Jones, etc. I will be quoting the definitions as has been said by these workers. Thomson in the year 1952 defined migration as a seasonal migration or movement that implies returning to the site where from the migration has started. Hardin Jones in the year 1968 defined migration as a class of movement that impels migrants to return to the region from where they have migrated. Thus he incorporated all the migrations in it, that is seasonal, breeding, and resting migration. Baker in the year 1972 defined migration as a class of movement which involves the change of place, that is spatial unit, to another. During the course of my lecture I will be using different terms and I will like you to get introduced to these terms. The first term is that of orientation. How an animal is able to position itself according to the external cues. The external cues are the sun rays, the light from the celestial bodies like stars, constellations, magnetic field, etc. and the process on which the organism is able to decide the direction of its migration. An animal can either migrate at an angle to these cues or will migrate towards or away from that cue. The next word that I will be using is that of navigation. Navigation is a term which makes an animal that is migrating to know about the position of it during the course of its migration. Humans also use the instruments called compass and maps to know the position when they are navigating either in the air or in the ships in the seas. Compasses help the humans to know the position and the direction, while as maps help an human to know that what is the position of its journey. Likewise, navigation is used by the animals also, right from invertebrates to vertebrates, to know the position and the direction of movement based again on the external cues. Either they will be at an angle to the external cue or they will be moving towards or away from the external cues. The third term is the taxis. Taxis means the class of movement either towards or away from the external stimulus. The stimulus can be light and we call that as phototaxis. The stimulus can be the chemical, which we call as chemotaxis. The stimulus can be the currents of water or air, which we call as rheotaxis movements. Another words that I will be using will be that of homing. You must have heard the word that homing instinct. Every animal, whether it be humans, have an instinct to return to the home wherefrom they have started their journey. Homing instinct is an inbuilt instinct in the animals, which can be either based on the genes or in the minds of the animals that show the class of movement called migration. The other word is piloting. Piloting is the word that refers to know the direction during the course of the movement. The piloting involves the remembering of the landmarks like that of the Himalayas, the Alps, large rivers like the Ganges, the oceans, etc., which an animal remembers during the course of a journey, that is migration. True navigation is the term used for the animals which migrate for the first time, and as is the example with the anguilla, which is the eel, European eel. It has been seen that the young ones which have never seen the course of movements or the course of locations where they have to actually reach, but they reach there without the aid of the leaders or any other parent, which will help them to know the direction during the course of migration. Now, why is there a movement called migration during the lifespan of an animal? There are certain theories that have been given by different class of workers. One of that has got the historical reason. As we all know that Earth consisted of two things, one is the landmass and another is the water body, millions of years before, and entire landmass was in the form of a big landmass called Pangea. This Pangea showed movement that's called as Continental Drifting, which resulted in the formation of 7 large continents and which have got the hindrances of the water bodies called oceans and seas in between. And it has been said that this entire landmass used to have animals which are presently on that, and this is why that there is a basic inbuilt instinct for the animals that are living in the seas or different continents to return to these continents where actually their forefathers lived. And that is why it has been seen that in case of turtles, sea turtles, that to return to the land masses for laying eggs, and the young ones that come out of these eggs after hatching, they return back to the sea. Another reason which has been given by the different scientists is that the animals migrate in search of the food source. Birds have been seen to show the migration towards the south when there is large amount of food available in the south, and when they return to the north, the food has been seen to be abundant in the north only, and that is why they show the migration either towards the southern hemisphere or towards the northern hemisphere. Fishes also have been seen to show this class of movement, particularly when they show vertical movements, as is the case